Hi, I'm Jessie with Extra Space Storage, and today I'm going to show you my 1978 RV that I renovated for full-time living. Come on inside. Welcome to my little kitchen. For the countertop, I just placed some contact paper down to give it a new look. I also put this decorative aluminum around the window to not only hide a little bit of a water damaged wall, but also just to make it a little cuter. For my dishes, I used a bin right here so nothing comes tumbling out, and all of my dishes are stainless steel, so if they do come tumbling out, they don't break. A lot of people do use towels to place in between dishes to keep them from rattling, or they'll have plastic dishes so they don't even rattle in the first place. But for me, it's a non-issue. My biggest concern is making sure that they don't come crashing down. I also store some things in my oven here. I have my cast iron and a cooking pan, and then when I drive, I just pop a few things inside, shut it and lock it, and then I'm ready to bounce down the dirt roads. I did find a way to hang some decorations just by using some relatively strong magnets, and they'll stay put as I go down the road as well. I also use a really strong magnet to hold my knives, which in 3 years on the road, they've never fallen once. I have a cute little storage container back here for my tea. I also nestle a few things in here when I drive. I feel like pretty much every nomad uses their sink as a catch-all storage space as they go down the road to keep things nice and safe. I also installed this simple little wire with some clips, so if I have some wet mittens or a wet washcloth, I can clip it and hang it to dry over the sink. I also have a few tiny little cutting boards that tuck away here, which since I don't have a lot of counter space, they actually are just the right size. An alternative to cutting boards that you can move around is they actually have countertop extenders that sit on top of your burners. They have little rubber feet that nestle in so they stay put. You can also make a custom countertop insert that goes in your sinkhole and nestles in there, and then you just have a nice big space to work in. When I find myself needing more counter space, I just flip up my countertop extension. A couple of modifications I made to utilize what little space I have down in the lower cabinetry is this used to be 2 cutting boards, which I knew I didn't have a need for, so I turned it into a drawer, which stores my reusable napkins, my bamboo utensils, and my teeny tiny strainer. Another thing I did is I found a paper shredder that somebody was throwing away, and I turned it into my garbage can. I just drilled a couple holes in the back, and now it hangs here, and it's the perfect size. I learned pretty quickly that these doors did not like to stay closed as I was driving down the road, and so I realized that child locks were the perfect solution. And to give this cabinetry an overall updated look, I just replaced the hardware and gave it a new coat of paint. It's as simple as that. Initially, this was all painted a lighter color, and I found that it just showed dirt way too easily, so I gave it a new coat of paint in a charcoal gray, and it does much better now. I had some extra space here, so I decided to make it the spot where I hang my hats and my keys. The bathroom is where I did a fair amount of renovation. This shower stall used to be where the toilet was. So I took the toilet out and turned it just into a shower, and I added a spring-loaded shelving unit just to store the few products that I do have, and put in a new shower head and put more fancy aluminum on the ceiling just to make it a little cuter. I do have it surrounded fully in a shower curtain just so the walls don't get any water on them, just in case it's not perfectly watertight. So to give it a nicer finished look, since I removed the toilet from the floor, I put down these decking tiles, which are slatted and allow the water to still drain through and go down the water drain. Since I took the toilet out of the shower area, I had to build this platform to have my composting toilet set on, which meant that I needed to create a little room to have my toilet in. So I built a shelving unit, essentially, that made it so I could have a door close and create a small little space here. And then on the shelving unit, I was able to put a few different bins, like this is my dirty laundry, extra linens, just some extra body care. And it also became the command center for my solar. So my wires run in and they go down to my charge controller here, and my battery bank is underneath the shelving as well. This mirror is another thing I rescued from the trash. Not only does it serve as a mirror to get ready in front of, but there's also more shelving inside, and it stays closed with a really strong magnet. When you live in a small space, it's great if everything has more than one use. So I have Turkish towels in the bathroom that not only function as my bath towels, but they also work good as a beach blanket, and you can use it as a shawl. Also, they dry super fast. This may not seem like a big closet, but for an RV, it's huge, and it was one of the bigger selling points for me when I was looking at RVs, because I love clothes. So I have a lot of hanging room. I have a little scarf hanger on the back of this door. I have a mirror on the back of this door, plus some bins on the bottom, and this whole upper shelf, which has my jeans and a onesie. I also used hangers that stack things to create a little bit more hanging space. This is my bedroom, and I would have to say it's my favorite part of my rig because it's basically a big screened-in porch. This back bedroom had quite a bit of water damage, so I did end up having to rebuild the wall and the entire ceiling, and while I was at it, I rebuilt this ledge to be about 3 times the size that it initially was, which meant that I had some room to put some storage bins under here and just create a little bit of extra storage space in general. On top of the ledge, I built a cat tree for my cat that has little cat grass on it because we spend a lot of time in the desert. I have some space for a few books, and behind me I have a few more things that everybody likes to just keep next to their bed. On the upper cabinets here, I took off the doors to create more space and to put in a little bit more flavor with some homemade curtains. I have my laundry supplies and a box of first aid supplies, some helmets for my bicycle and my motorcycle, and a couple pairs of coveralls because I do work on my engine quite a bit. Since this is a 70s RV, I wanted to stay true to that and decorated in 70s decor. So I have your classic Afghan, some macrame, daisy wallpaper, and fringy pillows. Since I do have so many windows in here, instead of doing curtains, I decided to do some low profile blinds that help block out the sun when it gets a little too hot. Originally, this piece was on that wall before I did the bathroom renovation. There was no room for it over there anymore, so I swung it around on this side of the bedroom and not only use it to get ready for the day, but I have a ton of extra storage space inside. When you live in a tiny home, there's not a ton of wall space to use for decoration, so you gotta utilize the ceiling sometimes and hang your decorations. This is something I do have to take down before I drive, and I just settle these plants along the bottom of the bed there and tuck everything nicely away and put it back up when I get parked. Even though I managed to fit a queen size bed back here, I still ended up with some extra space at the foot of the bed. So I just used a vintage suitcase and a wicker basket to create more storage space. The 1978 version of my rig came with giant horseshoe seating and a secondary table, but when I got it, all of that was missing. So I used it as an opportunity to build my queen size bed frame, and when I did that, it created a bunch of extra storage space under the bed. This extra storage space allows me to continue my shoe addiction, and if I'm gonna be far away from town out in the boonies for long periods of time, I can stock up on extra supplies. This RV, like a lot of RVs, came with the standard horseshoe seating with a table in the center that drops down and turns into an extra bed. I knew I didn't need that extra bed, so in order to open up the floor plan a little bit, I demoed out half of the booth seating and I kept just the back booth area, which allowed me to build it up to have a table that flips up and I can just keep it down when I'm not using it. And these side bits ended up becoming storage space. And next to that is my drinking water, which I get out of reverse osmosis machines, so I know that whatever I'm consuming is safe. Another thing I did to open up the space visually was take off all of the cabinet doors. And instead I put bins, which keep all of my food from falling out, and I think it looks cute too. Next to the bins are little vintage containers that I found at thrift stores along the way that help add to the 70s feel in here. Welcome to the business end of my home on wheels. These comfy chairs double as extra seating since they both spin. I have this little table that I put stuff on when I'm driving and also doubles as a spot where my cat eats. And then underneath this little table is my engine. So if I ever need to work on it, take off the doghouse and there it is. Up above me is an extra bed. Originally I had 2 sleeping spots for guests, and since I knew I never wanted to have that many people stay in here, I was able to demo one of those spots out and open up the dining room area since I had this nice single bed here that tucks away. So this is one of the more creative storage solutions that I thought of that I'm really proud of. I did not want to have the litter box in the living space, so I put a cat door on the inside and it comes through into the storage compartment from the inside, and I put the litter box here. Living in a tiny home on wheels is challenging when it comes to downsizing. So whether you end up with extra stuff that you just can't bear to give away, sentimental items, or if you're picking things up along the way on your travels, you may need a storage unit. That's where Extra Space Storage comes in handy. With 1,900 properties and over 1 million units, you're sure to find one around. And if you want to travel abroad, they also offer RV storage and boat storage.